Hey, it's News from Heaven, and today we're going to be talking about how angels revive half-dead spirits. This is a story of love. This is a story of the intimate care that everyone is the epicenter of, even if it doesn't maybe feel like that. There is this reality all around us that's pouring in. And it's also this story of redemption, that maybe sometimes you feel like you're a half-dead spirit. You're not too far gone. We have ways of helping you out. Okay, if you haven't seen this show before, please don't like and subscribe. But if you have and you enjoy the show, like and subscribe. And anybody and everybody, come to the offTheLeftEye experience. We are going to be trying to take things a step further. There's a whole weekend event where you can come and hang out and with people who are also interested in looking for the good in everything. We are going to be doing an immersive retreat. Check it out. There's links in the description. There's all kinds of wonderful things that will move you there. Hope to see you there. Okay, if you want to follow along, you got to get yourself a copy of Swedenborg's Journal of Spiritual Experiences. This is delving into his private notes as he was surfing through the realm of conscious causes. Like, what leads us to the world we experience? I often like to depict it this way, where you have this negative stuff coming in that's trying to disrupt your ability to be a productive, compassionate, pro-social human being. And if this stuff wins out, you may find yourself choked out of the life that should be coming in, right? Everything good and true and real. And just sensible. That should be telling us about how life is good. Getting that cluttered up to the point where we become half dead. How do we get out of here? Well, we'll show you. And another thing I like about this is it answers the question, the eternal conundrum of the folded arms God, or the folded arms heaven, or the moral center that looks at you and says, well, have you lived up to my expectations? This is an idea that is prevalent throughout religion, if not stated overtly as a doctrine, maybe implicit in the way people behave is, hey, this is the way you should live. If you don't live this way, well, it's your own fault. Is that the attitude? Are angels saying, hey, bootstrap yourself up? We begin. This is Journal of Spiritual Experiences, as I said. After being lifted up, those arising through the province of the right foot were heard speaking. I'm sorry. Did I not mention this stuff is weird? You clicked on a video that talked about half-dead spirits, but you probably weren't prepared for exactly what we were going to give you here, because this probably one of the weirdest concepts in Swedenborg is that all of humanity can actually be mapped onto the human form. Just like there are all these different parts in there that perform different functions, the way we approach and metabolize life and act associates us with some function, so that you could say we all play a part in this grand human form that is the human race. And with Swedenborg as an individual person, and any of us, you can tell what kind of spirits you're relating to. Okay, it's weird. By their positioning relative to your own body, which is an indicator of the positioning next to the grand human. They're not really this small, but it makes them sound small. So right here, we've got spirits near the right foot who were heard speaking. Okay, if anyone's still watching, let's see what he says next. But from whose speech I could perceive scarcely anything living, and what there was of life was so scanty that I thought they were about to die. So these spirits have got some issues. There's a flame in them, but it's very small. And how does this make us feel? They spoke as if lifeless statues were being compelled to speak. How do you tell if a spirit has very little life? You can hear it in the vocals. And I almost began to give up hope that any life would remain in them for long. So we care about these spirits. And these spirits are in a state of distress, where Swedenborg, who's seen a lot of spirits, is feeling like this is a kind of an emergency here. These spirits are in a state where we don't know if they're going to make it. Even though spirits can live forever, but the quality of life can vary so much that there is such a thing as spiritual death, and that it's all becomes evil and falsity in you instead of goodness and truth. Swedenborg was concerned. What is going to happen to these spirits? The ones who had risen up through the left foot, oh yeah, there's other spirits on the other foot. What? why aren't they just over on the right foot? Is this just the most arbitrary, bizarre thing you ever heard? Yes, but not quite as arbitrary as you might think. Because why are they left foot instead of right foot? The ones who had risen up to the left foot spoke in a not much different fashion, but with a difference as to what should be the spiritual quality. That is, in them there was hardly any spiritual life. So the left side relating to spiritual, the right side relating to heavenly. So that little spark that's almost dying out in them is a spiritually oriented life rather than a heavenly oriented life, which is essentially spiritual is primarily intellectual and heavenly is primarily, will or love based. Everyone's got both, but it just either you're more heart-centered or you're more mind-centered. That's what differentiates these. So both of these groups of spirits are in trouble, but for different reasons. But those reasons are related. Scene set. That is, there was in them hardly any spiritual life. I could feel the difference from the sound. I love that. For them also, I almost began to lose hope that they could live. For it was as if they were carved figures being compelled to speak, in which there was nothing living. The latter, as well as the former, were speaking at the back from above. Which probably means something, but he doesn't go into detail here. I don't know what it means. But, so what are we going to do? How are we going to rescue these beings? Well, angels are going to come in, right? I mean, the title already gave it away, so I don't know. Let's just read this anyway. But presently I heard they were being let into a certain kind of whirling activity. Oh, I thought it was going to be an angel. It's actually even better, a whirling activity. Being thus sent into a society of good spirits and angelic spirits who take care of those they are almost convinced would die unless they would pour life into them. So these angels are sharing a mindset with Swedenborg. They think these people are in trouble. These are almost like first responder angels. These spirits, they're on life support, or they're in critical condition, or you may be able to tell that I don't have a background in emergency medical treatment, unless they would pour life into them. I do know that if you are doing some EMT, I don't even know if that's emergency medical treatment, it's not, how would you like to be able to pour life into somebody? Isn't that what we're trying to do through the means that we use to revive people? Backing up to the whirling activity. So these spirits who were almost dead were let into a whirling activity. And Swedenborg asserts that that activity has to do with the society of good. So this is some community. Some community creates this sort of thing. And we don't know what always this is, a whirling activity. Is that actually like movement like that? Or is it a state of mind that affects how you think about life? Or is it something that we could understand now, but Swedenborg didn't have the right framework? Is it something akin to some kind of hyperbaric chamber or something like that? I don't know. How would I know? But what we do know is that these spirits are here to these angelic spirits take care of people. This is some kind of hospital. And as we're going to see here, these are our spirits that are almost dying. And they get transferred into this. And I feel like the takeaway from this is, what's the attitude? What's the attitude of these spirits? Is it, look at these people again. I was going to go to lunch and now I have to deal with this emergency intake. They did, the taking care of these spirits, so eagerly and so carefully that it is almost indescribable. Nor did they allow themselves to tire of the task, but constantly strained to stir them, which stirring was like a rough whirling together with the usual sound. All right, let's unpack it. Just to get it out of the way, this is a strange method of caring, but it must be spiritually effective. You must have been around a lot, Swedenborg, to have, this is the usual sound of whatever they're doing here, the hum of some kind of spiritual machine that's caring from them. But look at this. How are these angels helping these spirits? There's two ways. They're doing so carefully and they're doing so eagerly. This is the hallmark of what it is to be angelic. This is the hallmark of God, because you have both of these things. This eagerly is love. This is the driving force, I want to help you. But It's not just that. You can be very eager and do no good for someone. They also have the wisdom, doing it carefully, that only when these two unite, the desire and the longing to help unites with the knowledge and strategy and ability to help. In there, you get what is called the marriage of love and wisdom, which is what heaven is and is what God is these two together. And these angels, as we'll see, being plugged right into God, are administering both of these things, and in equal measure, so that you get this great effect. That's awesome. All right, so what's going to happen? Are they going to be able to pull it off? We've got love and wisdom in there. But the spirits were in such a bad state. And what does it mean to be revived? Where are they going to end up? Man, is there a lot of suspense around this story. When the good and the angelic spirits had taken care of them for several hours, then they began to be somewhat enlivened, and no longer to be lifeless, as it was also granted me to see. So we are making progress. Thus, life was being instilled into them so that they would be able to be in society. What is life? If it's not physically, we know it's, can you keep your systems, the objects inside you, your heart muscle and collection of muscle fibers, the tubes that make up your cardiovascular system, can those all maintain their structure so that you can live? What is spiritual life? What is psychological, emotional life? So that they would be able to be in society. They are going to be able to be plugged in somehow to a life with others, because we really can't survive alone. And if you cannot do any kind of interfacing or any kind of service or anything to a human being, doesn't mean you necessarily have to be around people all the time, but if you're not in some way participating in the human race, it's not good. It doesn't, you lose your ability to live. They even said, but look at this. So right, these spirits, okay, they were on the brink, they had very little life, so they must have had something wrong with their goodness and truth. There's no way that they're going to actually go from zero to really happy, right? They even said, these being the spirits, that thus they were in heaven. For the life that was instilled into them was their heaven. So this is what the angels are going for. What's the goal? Is it to okay, we're here in heaven, we've done things well, we'll bring you back to life because we have to, but then, go find something, hope you do okay for yourself. What these angels are laboring to do is bring these spirits into a state just as happy as theirs, which is heaven. And note that it's their heaven, meaning these spirits' heaven, that everybody has a different heaven. So even though you would imagine that all the development that these angels have been through allows them to experience levels of goodness and truth that these spirits who just a minute ago were basically devoid of spiritual life couldn't do. But yet, the state that these spirits were led into made them so deeply happy and blissful that it's heaven. Right? That's what this is not. It's not the folded arms God. It's not okay, well, what do you deserve? This is the goal of everything, is to get people into heaven, should they be willing to accept it in any form. We have them, and look at how much capital was spent creating this whole machine to do just that. This is just a little reflection of the burning love that drives God's wisdom to make it so that anybody, anywhere, can be just as revived as is possible. After being cared for by good spirits throughout the night with great concern, and it doesn't seem like these angels are upset about their shift getting extended. This is something that there is actually, Swedenborg says in other places, this is the joy of their life. This is their favorite thing to do, is to help people like this. That's what heaven is, by the way. If anybody asks you at a cocktail party, what is angels' favorite things to do? If they figure out their grammar on that, you can say, helping people that need help. And to have that be the thing that really gets you going. If you could plan anything for your birthday, it would be to know somebody's in this, if you already know somebody's in this needy, desperate, maybe suffering state, and you can come in and relieve that. That's the greatest thing in the world. that's when what's outside matches what's inside. Because people can have all kinds of things that they think are the greatest thing in the world. And some of those are good. A lot of those are really destructive. Sometimes they get really heinous. But all of that stuff doesn't quite match up, because it's none of those negative sort of things that we can enjoy as humans are the greatest thing in the world. Because it's only great to you because you can enjoy this. But to help somebody who really needs help, that's the greatest thing in the world, externally and internally. Because you can just objectively tell, yes, relieving suffering in that way. What is actually better than that? And to have that feel like the best thing to you, that is when you're in a state of alignment. That is when there's integrity through and through, and that's what heaven is. Okay, all right. Oh, did I stop for that long in the middle of a sentence? We're going to get letters to the editor. They were heard to be adapting more and more to being in company. And it was said that they are now being inserted into societies where they are being perfected in everything related to spiritual and heavenly life. And remember, this is exactly what we were lacking in the beginning. The different spirits by the different feet didn't have that, but they're able to be placed in societies where they are being cared for. So they're out of the emergency room, but now they're in some kind of recovery center or in some kind of work program or whatever it is to get them. We're going to give you long-term holistic treatment to get you life. For with them, and look, these particular spirits, there's a key indicator. No, a key attribute. For with them, there is nothing repugnant toward higher knowledge. Okay, so they're not dead set against the principles of love and truth that run heaven or run the divine order. Only some resistance arising from the desire to return to their own life. They're not used to this stuff, so I kind of like how it was before. That's fine. We can work with that. But they are nevertheless initiated in one way or another. Definitely in keeping with what the mindset of these people are. And become more obedient than others. If you have ever hit bottom, you're a lot more willing to look for help, or so the theory goes. So somehow, actually, these spirits who had this whole negative journey can actually, and you might think, oh, being obedient is bad, but no, being obedient spiritually is actually gets you really far. And that is something that you actually find in life, I would say, at a lot of levels. I just know as you start to develop skill set in a career or something like that, there is like prevailing wisdom which needs to be challenged at times, but there are sometimes really good ways of thinking that allow people to take areas farther. And if you get in there, at least in the beginning, and become a disciple of what is the best practices around this and follow accordingly, you move forward. But if you just say, I'm just going to do this on my own from scratch, usually it's not happening. Is that a good example? That's the best example that I can think of right now. I hope you understand what I'm talking about. Obedience is less of this like blind to authority, but more like I'm not going to let my own ego get in the way of accepting good help and recognizing when there's something, a little more competent and capable than me that I can learn from. So the spirits actually end up in a pretty decent place. How life is successively poured into them. Oh yeah, let's get a little spiritual weird right here. Was portrayed by colors. Their first life by a certain whitening marble color. Okay, how do I draw that? White, okay, so here's white, and we'll just put some little flecks, and maybe marble has just a little sheen to it, right? Okay, so this is whitening marble color, right? This is their first life. Somehow, if that was actually whitening marble color, that portrays the state of life they had before. Their next life by a sky bluish color. So this is the change they underwent. They're this now, rather than what they were before, and the next progression that they get. The third by ascending patches of shining clouds. Isn't that fascinating? That somehow, through the language of correspondences, you can depict what this amazingly complex thing going on inside their hearts and minds is by this series of images. In short, life is instilled into them in stages, whereby they are enabled to join company with good spirits. And there, it almost seems like life can be this direct pouring in, but we don't really know the means by which these angels are helping these spirits. Here, if we keep with our ambulance sort of metaphor, we try to pour life into people through methods like CPR and like a tourniquet in an extreme situation, IVs, those pads, electro helpers, and those are the means by which you pour life. Spiritually, there are more precise means. Sometimes they do seem very spiritual-ish, like the automatic sharing of thoughts and feelings. Who knows what exact methods these are using, but I do know you can represent them by these 3 boxes. They're pouring life in some direct way, which is what in the physical world we do through objects as a means, but the intent is the same. Later, I was shown what such spirits at last are like by a blast of breath coming from them into my face. I already said this is weird. I don't need to re-explain myself. Then the front of my chest. The blast was somewhat, though slightly, chilly. I felt also not a chill, but something verging toward warmth, yet did not know whether it came from others or from them. So there's still a little cold, but it could be that, hey, this is starting to get warm, that this would be just like that first day in spring when it's just a little bit warmer. I can start to feel that there's a shift ahead. And this is the point. This is really what we're trying to drive home here. And he recognizes that just like we do. I could not have marveled enough. The take home is at how diligently the good spirits, the angelic spirits, and the angels strove untiringly to instill life into them. But they with the greatest zeal were carrying out what is realized to be from the Lord alone, who not only inspired the angels with such an intense zeal and affection, together with delight, but also instilled those spirits with life. For they resemble death itself, the spirits that were in trouble, and can be said to have been thus resuscitated from no life into some, and then into spiritual and heavenly life. I could not have marveled enough that there is this system, this force, which is the divine love and wisdom coming through angels in this case and inspiring them with the persistence and the drive and the knowledge and the care to help and revive them. So if you're ever feeling like beaten down by life and feel like you're half dead, or feel like you're confused, or feel like the events in your life seem insurmountable, if happiness seems like it's not something that can be reclaimed, just know that Swedenborg, who has seen a lot, was absolutely shocked at just how much love and how much wisdom there is just gushing out of God into angels, into heaven, through the right machinery, in the effort to help us wherever we need help. And that's unchanging, and it's there. And that's the news from heaven. Hope you like it. Let me know. Write a comment. We'd love to hear, what do these ideas do for you? Can we get something out of even angels reviving these half-dead spirits? Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. That was really fun. And I hope that you get something tangible that you're taking out. And maybe you can be a little part of that machine, giving somebody some help they need, driven by that same burning love and wisdom. See ya.